It's day 4 of the World Athletics Championships. And believe me, I fell asleep. Today was probably the least interesting, and not because of the athletes, but I think also the television coverage. They didn't give that little background information that I like for me to, how can I say, present my observations in a more entertaining way. So really, we just have the meat and potatoes today. Let's start. The high jump. It was the most boring. First of all, I apologize to all the high jumpers, but really it was very boring. There was no characters apart from the Korean guy, South Korea. I don't know if North Korea do athletics, but anyway, the South Korean guy came second, and he was also one of the shortest. Have you noticed that the people who do high jump are around about 2 meters 50 tall, and they're jumping round about 2 meters 25, 30. So I think there needs to be a modification in the high jump rules. But anyway, it was some New Zealand guy who won. I think it was 2 meters 36, which is very high. But I think his actual height was about 2 meters 36. Okay. But the guy who came second, a Korean, South Korean, his name, the last name was Woo. Okay. Woo. And every time he was a normal height, he was probably 1 meter 90 or something like this. He was a normal height, shortest guy or one of the shortest guys. And every time he jumped over the bar, he would get up, go to the camera and go, woo, just like his name. So I don't know if he was going woo because he was excited, or he was going woo to say, that's my name, baby. That's my name. But he was the only one with a bit of personality. That's it. That's what's missing from the men's high jump. Personality. Because everyone else looked like maybe a young car salesperson, a young shop assistant, or one of those young, tall, skinny, brainy university people. This guy, Wu, was the only one who had a little bit of personality with the camera and energy. So, the high jump, yeah, it's okay, but maybe they need to try and modify something. I don't know. Maybe if they take away those super springy shoes that they wear, or maybe they discount the height that you jump from your height, and therefore do some calculations. I'm not too brainy for this. Do some calculations, and that way you get the true champion. So that was the high jump. Not very interesting. People very normal. All salespeople, skinny. Even their uniform, some of it didn't even fit so well. That's how skinny some people were. Tall and skinny. The high jump. Today, day 4, what was very nice was a lot of personal best. People achieving their personal best, world best, championship records. The championship record, I think, was for the hammer. I don't know what's happening in this world championship, but every time I tune in, I see the hammer. I saw the women's hammer and now the men's final. Remember yesterday, a Canadian woman. A Canadian woman won the hammer final yesterday, and a Canadian man who looked a little bit like, he looked similar, like a 1980s soft rock star, but from Canada. So, what do you say? He broke the championship record, something like, I think it was 84, 85 meters. Katzberg, that's his name, Katzberg. So that's cool. And I think that was the only one of the very few championship records. Then the only two other things that really kind of stood out for me, there was the 110 meters hurdles, nothing really fantastic. Yes, some people got their personal best, but again, this day was probably the boring people. There were two finals. One was the 110 meters hurdles, and then they had the 1500 meters women's final. Now, the 1500 meters is kind of like that middle ground between a sprint race, so what they kind of classify as the sprint races or the fast races, 100, 200, and 400. And then the middle ground is 8 and 1500. And then the kind of longer distance, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. And then the crazy distance, the marathon. But anyway, 1500 meters, this was a race. And this is how you want people to run in a championships. The winner, she was from Kenya, yeah, Kip Yegon. She has a nice first name, Faith, yeah, Faith Kip Yegon. She started at the front and she just kept running at the front. She made sure nobody passed her and she just kept running from the start to the finish at the front. Another thing that I really need to highlight was Jessica Hill. Jessica Hill is Australian, and this woman, she kept up with Kip Yegon all the way. It was those two from start to nearly the finish. Jessica, I don't know Jessica, but I'll call her Jessica. Jessica basically lost the second place, the last meter and a half. She just lost that second place, but she got a bronze. And I think she did her personal best, but the two of them, Hill and Kip Yegon, from start to finish, very good race, no tactics, no pacemaker. They just said, this is my race, this is the World Championship, this is how we're going to run it, and they did it. That's how you should run a race. Now, if I was in a race like that, I would just, when they fire the gun, I would just start and then drop out. It's nice to see, or hopefully we see more races like this when we get to the men's 1500. And then for me, that was a highlight. The second highlight was they started the heats or the semi-finals. It wasn't the heats, the semi-finals for the women's and the men's 400 meters flat. Remember, we got 400 meters hurdles and 400 meters flat. Now, the world champion, and I say this, the world champion, because she's going to be the world champion, is this American, Sydney McLaughlin. Now, McLaughlin, her specialism is the 400 meters hurdles. And there was a great competition between her and Henkie Bol, the woman from the Netherlands, Henkie Bol. That's another thing. I've noticed the Netherlands, yeah, runners from Holland, the Netherlands, they have some really good runners now, men and women. But I think part of their advantage, they're similar to the high jumpers. Every single person from the Netherlands who runs is about 2 meters tall. 2 meters. So I think they can do some kind of, I don't know, blocking people or run through the air like a knife through butter. But they're just super tall and they're doing very well. So Sydney, I'll call her Sydney as well. I'm on first name terms with all these people. So Sydney, 400 meters flat. She ran the semifinals. And again, they did these 3 types of semifinals. So there was 3 rounds and they had the hot chair again and they had the camera on the hot chair people. It's terrible, this. But Sydney, I mean, she won the semifinal, national record for America. She's an American, national record, but she's going to kill the final. Believe me, I think she'll break the world record for sure. This woman is in another league. I'm not sure if she's running the 400 hurdles this year, but for sure, she's going to do 400 relay and 400 individual, and she's going to get gold. That was my observations. One other thing which gets me, because I watch the athletics with the Spanish TV, and I'm amazed how the presenters, I don't know what training or classes they have to pronounce the names, but it's really interesting to see that these people have learned to pronounce the names of all these people from different nationalities. That's kind of really interesting. So there's one thing that kind of called my attention or made me smile, because today there's no laughing. There was just some smiling going on. And this actor, Forrest Whitaker, and there was an athlete, and his name was, I don't know, Dave Whitaker. But the pronunciation by the presenters, the TV presenters, has been always the same. And they always pronounce Whitaker. That's it. Dave Whitaker. Okay. In general, and when they talk about the actor, Forrest Whitaker, okay, that was the funny thing is, but I'm really impressed with what they do or who helps them in terms of pronunciation, in terms of names, etc. I mean, all countries have different pronunciation problems for the names, but the TV people doing very well. So this is Denzel Whitaker. Until tomorrow. See ya.